This is an RNZ podcast.
They say it takes a village to raise a child. I'm Kathryn Ryan, and here we draw on my conversations with experts on 9 to Noon to help you navigate family life. Our guest is Dr Maysoon Salama, whose new storybook for children is Aya and the Butterfly. It's a picture book to help children come to terms with grief, cope with change, and build resilience. Dr Salama has experienced more than her own fair share of grief. She lost her son, Atta Elayyan, in the An-Nur mosque attack in Christchurch on the 15th of March 2 years ago. Dr Salama wrote this story for Atta's daughter, her granddaughter, Aya, and for other children dealing with loss and trauma. Dr Salama is manager and co-founder of the An-Nur childcare centre, so has also been witness to many other families' experience of grief. She is with us now, and thank you and welcome. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
What a beautiful book this is, beautifully told and beautifully illustrated, Maysoon.
Thank you, Kathryn.
The butterfly as the character who guides us through this story, was that your idea very early on?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And it came about because we were following the life cycle of the butterfly in the center, and then the lockdown came. And, so for me, I was looking after the butterfly. And all of a sudden, the life cycle of it, especially after the butterfly emerged, I just connected it to the loss of Atta. And I was following the butterfly life cycle with my granddaughter and the children virtually during the lockdown. And this is where all the story came about and the idea of it, So it's like life is full of changes and, the metamorphism of the butterfly and the changes that has been going through, that. It really instigated me, to write the story.
It is such a beautiful act of nature. It doesn't take too long. It happens right in front of children's eyes, this whole process from, the eggs being laid right through to the magic that happens, it seems, when a caterpillar curls itself up and then comes out as this beautiful butterfly. It really is one of the most gorgeous ways of nature educating children, isn't it?
Yes, definitely, yeah, because the life cycles, they can relate to it, children. And then especially the metamorphism of the butterfly, you can see that the caterpillar disappears and something else comes, and then from that emerges the beautiful butterfly. So something is lost, but also something beautiful is gained after that. So, and this is basically the life of all of us. And it's a cycle full of challenges, and, so it builds resilience in a way, when you look at the life cycle of butterflies, frogs, leaves falling, trees changing, and human beings changing. It's all for us to reflect on.
It very gently deals with Aya's grief. Very gently. There are moments, and with all of these children's grief, right? There are moments where something happens, like the swan plants, and any of us who've tried to look after caterpillars know what happens when all the swan plants get eaten. Thank you for the tip, by the way, to put the covering over it, stop the eggs being laid. I hadn't thought of that before. But there's this moment where, what would Dad do? What would Dad say? We very gently are exposed to Aya's grief through this.
Exactly, yeah. It's like in the story, the Aya's father's death is really implemented, but it's not the story focus. The children need to know, that we have to say goodbye to loved people or things in our life, and we must allow ourselves to remember and feel sad, and we must learn to let go and keep going, and there is hope. And, life goes on, so there is a focus on the storyline, which tells, for Aya, for example, yes, growing the swan plant and looking at the stages of it. And there is some challenges, the caterpillars are not going to have enough food. So what can we do? And, build resilience in this way, and patience, and, looking after things, like the swan plant itself. So people are around you also to look after you. It's really a subtle way of telling children that life goes on. Life is although it's full of challenges, but we can handle it by being patient and by being resilient.
There are lovely characters in the book. We begin at a market stall with a Chinese lady who's the market stall holder, and all that wonderful community that, gathers around a market. There's another character I particularly love, and that's Granddad. And again, this is the story that we've lost someone we loved so much and was such a guide to us, but there are others who will be our guide. This is a very special relationship in the book.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Well, the story is also intended to support and reflect and celebrate the Muslim community and focus on well-being and resilience and diversity and inclusion. So there is lots of characters there, and especially, the Muslim characters who are in the story. And also the family. So it stresses the family relations that, yes, dad is lost, but there's granddad, grandma, who will be looking after also their grandchild. And there's love and care and love, also it will never disappear. So father's legacy will be still there because also the grandparents are still to continue that legacy and to look after the child and give the child love.
There is a lovely illustration right at the end where Aya's, on her bed looking at the butterflies, got her dolly with her, and there's a picture of her beloved father on the table next to her. And again, this is the other very important message. We must, when children want to talk, when anyone wants to talk who has lost a loved one, we must listen. We must give that opportunity and not sort of draw back or feel like we're intruding, because people might do want to talk often and remember a loved one, and it's our way of helping them keep that person with them is to listen and to let that happen.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So it's like also children sometimes, they go through a lot of emotions and especially loss and grief and trauma, but they don't know how to express themselves. So we need to also help them with words and feelings and listen to them and help them, to express themselves. So be around them, so that they start, thinking of the situation and being open to the, what's happening and their loss. So it's really very important, to talk to children and give them their time also. Share also with them certain things. Let them look at the photos of the loved ones that they have missed, and they don't know also, maybe they don't understand what's happening. So go through this also with the children.
As we said, you were the co-founder and you are the manager of the An-Nur childcare centre. So there are many children and many families whose grief you are experiencing as well as your own. And how do you help children in particular, and children perhaps being different in the way they are processing this enormous event?
Yeah, for us, really, in our center, yes, it's not only Aya who lost her father, but there is many other children who lost their fathers or some loved ones, So for us, we started by changing the curriculum. So we made it more play-based than structured. And, for them, this story was really a fantastic one because for them, they were familiar with the characters and, they could relate also to the culture of the story itself, when seeing, for example, Aya and Teacher Maysoon and Dr. Muhammad, with the, also the hijab is there and the embroidered dress, So for them, it was a very good resource to help us also to go into our discussion, with them related to loss and trauma. So our approach while discussing with them, this very difficult concept, it was like a group healing. So, for example, say Ahmed and Omar miss their dad like Aya. Fariha misses her dad and auntie. Mariam misses her granddad. Teacher Farah, her husband. Teacher Maysoon, her son. Teacher Naima, her nephew and brother. It's really like a group healing, For us, we discuss also with them feelings, and fluctuating emotions that you can have good days and bad days. discussed also accepting life cycles relating to, the butterfly metamorphism and the autumn leaves, as I mentioned, and told them, it's okay to have happy moments again after being sad, and sadness doesn't stay forever. It's hard at the beginning, but then it goes away, slowly. Share happy moments of loved ones. We also, encourage them to talk about their feelings and what they are thinking. We will tell them, I know you're feeling very sad. I'm sad too. It's okay to cry, and referring also to some of the passages that came in the story. The concept of death was it's really the hardest thing, but children need to know that it's permanent, and a person who dies will not come back, So for us, that was also something that we had to really deal with. And we tailored also our discussion based on our Islamic faith, because this story, based on your learning community, you can really use the discussion and direct it in a certain way. So for us, we directed, the children towards, admiring Allah's creation, Allah's blessings around us, and the concept of death for us in Islam, to Allah we belong and to Allah we return. The concept of Jannah, so for me, until now, it's hard for me to tell Aya, for example, that her dad died. But it's easy for me to say that he's in Jannah, he's in paradise, and we hope to meet again, and we will meet again, hopefully, and we need to do a lot of good deeds, and also on behalf of our loved one, and accept the family around us and the relations around us, those will be helping us, reassuring the children, that they are not alone. So you'll be always cared for. This is the message that we were giving our children, and that lasting love never dies, So their parents who has been lost, still their legacy stays, and they will be still loving them even if they are not with them at the moment, We discuss family relations, granddad, grandma, uncle, and aunt, and their love and care. We tried also not to overwhelm our children, because, and this is my advice to people who are reading the story or dealing, with trauma like this. Give it bit by bit, slowly, and revisit the story probably again, so that you can discuss in more depth later, the second time or the third time. Follow-up activities are really also very good, and this is what we've done with our children, and we felt it was really working well. So, and they have their moments up and down, but we're still continuing, to help them, come up out of this difficult situation.
What an incredible, amazing, and vitally important job you are doing. I know it's not a job, but what an amazing thing you are doing. With these children, while living with your own grief too, Dr. Salama, sometimes, strangely enough, reaching out and helping and being able to have the agency to help someone else can but I don't know, for a moment distract from one's own grief as well. There is something empowering about the reaching out and helping others, especially when it's children.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, this is what I felt. And I felt also like that stories are the most powerful delivery tool for information and creating emotional connections, And for me, I lived with the story, and I channeled my emotions, because I was feeling sad and angry and all sorts of things, But when I was writing the story, this is how I was channeling my emotions, and how I was thinking, well, anybody who is dealing with trauma, hopefully this story will help them. And that was giving me the motivation and also some kind of joy in a way in the middle of all of the chaos that I'm in, or the grief that I'm feeling, and the emotions that I'm feeling. So definitely it's a very rewarding thing.
Tell me about working with Jenny Cooper. Were you able to have a say in who would do the illustrations, because they just bring this to life so beautifully?
I can't ask for better than that. She is brilliant, and she's done a great job, and we work together really nicely. And with the Ministry of Education, they have introduced her work to me, and I really loved it. And I approved very quickly, that yes, this is really a very good choice. And no regrets whatsoever. It's really amazing. It's wonderful. And she's done a great job. I remember she was like, when I was dressing, with my traditional embroidered dress, she was like, how am I going to really do all of these details? But she's done a brilliant job. And it's really fantastic, to see that.
And And Dr Salama, is this book part of a series? Is the Ministry of Education a publisher here?
Yes, yeah. It's part of a series of 5 books, and it's like Aya and the Butterfly and the 5 other stories are, related to well-being project, which was initiated by RNZ and myself in collaboration with the ministry. So there'll be 3 more stories and 1 Arabic version of Aya and Butterfly. They will be still coming soon. And yes, and basically they are intended to support, reflect, and celebrate the Muslim community in New Zealand and hopefully in the world, and they are for early childhood and primary. So we're working on the rest of the series. The other stories are not mine. One of them is based on one of my ideas. But I Am Butterfly is the story, which is my story. But we're working on the other series, And I Am Butterfly is on the website for the ministry, and the others will be also available. And it's been distributed to all of primary schools and early childhood centers. And the same will happen for the other stories that will be developed by the Ministry of Education.
Wonderful. And thank you again.
You're welcome.
Aya and the Butterfly is by Dr Maysoon Salama, illustrations by Jenny Cooper. It's part of the Amato Korero, Our Stories series that she's just explained.